All right, I've got a great show for you today. Sadly, there is a breakup going on with President Trump and Elon Musk. It seems to be the biggest story in the news, but I want to go through that and others with Stephen Davis. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
We were just saying off line how great our first name is and how often people say it wrong, calling us Stefan. But I'm grateful to have somebody with such a great first name as a co-host today.
Can't beat it, huh? We're practically twins. Okay, that's what we're twinning right now.
Okay, well let's go ahead and prove that to people. So you show your
Yes.
arms, I'll show mine. And,
there we go.
So you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm Danny DeVito in the movie Twins. Oh my gosh.
That'll work. That'll work.
Yes, yeah, that was a great movie. What
really was.
Yeah, what is your whole take on this Elon Musk, Donald Trump? I see some people taking Trump's side, some people taking Elon, some saying, "Hey, we need to bring these two back together." What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are, we can have disagreements on policy, we can have disagreements on bills and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, shouldn't resort to name calling. I mean, what are we really doing here? And we're showing, especially you have one of the most, the richest man on the planet, and on the other side you have the most powerful president, right? And they're clashing on the world stage in headlines. They're, Elon Musk is taking to X and saying some of the most despicable things that I don't think that you should really debase yourself and involve yourself into. And it's just sad to see these two powerful allies break apart in such a way. I think that we need to be able to come together and be able to say, okay, I agree to disagree. You're going a certain direction. I can't really follow that, but yeah, I'll meet you on the next bill, right? That's what we should be able to do. And we need to get our egos out of the mix and just be able to come together as the right side of history and showcase cohesive leadership, togetherness, and all that sort of thing, unity as well. This is not a good look for us on the right side of history.
Yeah, I agree with that. I said to my wife, I've watched in the animal kingdom, the two males, beating their heads against each other. You have two billionaire alpha males that have a vision for the country. But like you say, one of them is the richest person and the other one is the most powerful person. And I believe at the end of the day, they both want the best for America. But I think, as Victor Davis Hanson said, there's what you want to get done and what you can actually get done. And President Trump knows he has to operate within that. The Democrats are fighting him. You've got rhinos fighting him. You've got minos, MAGA in name only, using Trump to get reelected and raise money. I don't think, I'm hoping that they can patch this thing up. As of right now, President Trump is saying, hey, you know what? I'm not ready to get on the phone. There was some horrible things said. I thought it was a really low blow when he said the truth is going to come out that Trump was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. What were your thoughts on that low blow?
That was despicable. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, because first of all, either way, if this was true or if this wasn't true, either way, it makes Elon look bad. Because if it is true, that means you're letting your child and you're hanging out with this convicted, or not convicted, but with this, person on the Epstein list and, this, possible degenerate, whatever have you. On the other hand, if you're just saying this just to say it, that's not going to come easy for you when it comes to maybe possible defamation lawsuits or anything of that nature. So, and it makes you look petty. This is not a good look for somebody of his stature. And considering that this is the person you've been working side by side with, and again, you have a disagreement. And as a result of this disagreement, you want to go nuclear on X? It's really despicable. I mean, I expected more, and I still like and I still support Elon, and I think he's done a lot of good, especially for the MAGA movement. But when it comes to situations like this, when it comes to things like this, look, this is constructive criticism. You know better than to do something as atrocious as this and to hurl such a despicable insult to this man that you've been working with, that you know has the best intentions for this country. And the very fact that he's willing to do that, it's an unfortunate look into this man's character, and I think that it's a sad thing to see and witness.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to just go over a couple of things. Let me bring this up on the screen here. So Alex Jones, who has an entire team of researchers, independent, people that track stuff down, investigators. He said, I have investigated Trump for 10 years looking for any connection to Epstein's crimes and found zero evidence. So you now have Democrats saying, oh, wait a minute. We need to open up the Jeffrey Epstein files. They've been very quiet, but as soon as it makes Trump look potentially bad, but don't you think if he was actually connected, the Democrats would have brought that into the light over the last 10 years?
A long time ago. Any chance that since 2016, all right, or campaign in 2015, if they even had a whiff of him being a part of that list, they would have put that out a long time ago. But it just goes to show, obviously it's not true, and Trump has been very vocal about his I won't say hate, but his discontent for such a person like Jeffrey Epstein. And Democrats has had time after time, year after year, political season after political season to throw this at Donald Trump, and it's never stuck, and no one's ever done this. So it just goes to show that this is outright a lie, and it's a rather despicable lie to throw at the president of the United States, who is doing the most for this country to get our country back on track.
Yeah. Let me go just a little deeper. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but so this is David Schoen. He was the attorney that represented President Trump during the second impeachment. And he said, I was hired to lead Jeffrey Epstein's defense as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I can say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked. So you have one of the top lawyers. This is well before President Trump needed him to protect him from the awful Democrats that tried to impeach him. This guy is saying, listen, as a lawyer, I dug into this. I couldn't find anything either. I mean, this is just a baby we need to put to bed, in my opinion.
No, it really is. This is something that, many uninformed people on the left would try to hurl at, Donald Trump. They try to say, oh, he's a rapist. Oh, okay, let's calm it down. Oh, he was a part of Jeffrey Epstein's list. Or, see these deep fakes with, Donald Trump in the picture of Jeffrey Epstein. They'll just jump on and glom onto it. Look, there's no connection whatsoever at all. That's all. That's it. People need to get over it. The left needs to get over it. Democrats need to get over it. And apparently now, Elon Musk. So we need to stop this foolishness and put this baby to rest once and for all. Trump had nothing to do with Epstein. He was not buddies with him. There's no connection whatsoever. Stop with the foolishness. Stop with the lies.
Yeah. Speaking of lies, our FBI director, Kash Patel, he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and there was a lot that came out about Jeffrey Epstein and saying, listen, there's no connection. Joe Rogan said, why would Elon say that? And Kash Patel was like, listen, I just want to stay in my lane, but there's no way he had those classified documents, right? Like we're still trying to get those out to the public. But he did say one thing about the auto pen pardons and Dr. Fauci that is breaking news. And so let me show this and we'll discuss it together.
Sure.
Had a great breakthrough this week on Fauci. So Senator Rand Paul, Senator Kennedy, and I hate naming names because I always forget people, are doing a great job with us on COVID origins. And we've got multiple investigations open on that. But they had always been looking for Fauci's original phone, or not original, but phones and devices he used while he was Fauci back in Trump one during COVID. And nobody had found it till 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah. Now look, your audience and everybody listening to it shouldn't jump to the conclusion everything's in there. We'll look at it, we'll pull it, we'll rip it, as we say, and maybe it's deleted, maybe it's not. But at least we found it, and at least now we can tell the American people we've been looking, because it is of public importance to figure out, did that guy lie? Did he intentionally mislead the world and cause countless deaths? We owe those answers to the American people, and the best evidence ever is always the people's evidence who created it. And so now we're going to go and exploit those hard drives. But I think a victory for the American people that we broke with Congress is that we did find it. We're not done. We're still looking, and we're on the case.
To me, this is a really big story, because as they did FOIA and dug into his emails, they realized, wait a minute, this guy was funding the Wuhan lab. He was funding gain-of-function research. He then used his position of power in order to cover up his own tracks. Now they're saying we've got the computers, the hard drives, and the cell phones. This is a big deal. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I want to say this. This is it just goes to show how transparent this administration has been and how much out for justice we have been. We've needed an administration like this to finally look into the things that were questionable, which were the COVID origins, which has affected the entire world. Of course, the United States of America has had detrimental effects when it comes to our children, and our children, especially within the educational system and the educational apparatus. It's had devastating effects when it comes to us as human beings. People have lost their jobs. People have lost their lives. People went into severe depression. People committed suicide. There's so many different negative things and aspects that came about as a result of this COVID situation. And hey, now we have the receipts. Now we get to take a good look at what the things that these people were saying and what the Democrats were hiding and stumping behind this guy, Anthony Fauci, in which, they basically put this man on a pedestal he was the golden calf of the left. They were singing songs to this guy, paying homage to this guy. He was on the cover of all these different magazines. And now finally the chickens are home to roost. I cannot wait to see what's going on. And I can't wait for our administration, this MAGA administration, to make America great again. You have to go after those who tried to make it worse. And one of those people was Anthony Fauci. And I cannot wait to see what he's going to have to answer to when it comes to the past 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, the pardon may hold up, even though it looks like it was signed by an auto pen. However, if his legacy, if the truth can come out about his legacy, the lies, the cover up, at least we would get some form of public justice. Maybe he's not going to sit in jail on Riker Island next to Letitia James when they get done with her. But if we can at least get the truth out there, I think that's going to be good. Speaking of Letitia James, I know you watched all that Trump, the hell he was put through. A year ago today, we were covering them putting him through absolute hell. What was your thoughts when you find out Letitia James was committing the very crimes she was trying to put Trump in jail for 700 years? What were your thoughts when you learned that story?
I was not surprised at all, because that's what Democrats do. That's what the left does. They project everything that they're doing onto us. They say we're the terrible people. We're the horrible ones. And they're going behind the scenes doing the exact same thing that they're accusing us of. We've seen this time and time again. This is something that Charlie Kirk always talks about. If the left didn't have any double standards, they would have no standards at all. Okay, so when it comes to people like Letitia James and the things that she tried to put Trump through, and her targeting of Trump in this egregious way, it just validates everything we've been saying, because we understood this from the get-go. And we've been saying there's probably something that they're doing, there's probably something that the left is doing, there's probably something that the Democrats are doing that is exactly identical to what they're accusing him of. Just take a look, just take a gander at what it is that they're doing behind the scenes, and lo and behold, what do you know? The Democrats were doing corrupt things once again. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah. I'm hoping that she ends up in Riker Island for what she tried to do. I mean, it's one thing to commit real estate fraud, which I believe that she did, but she was literally trying to put the former president of the United States in jail without Secret Service for the rest of his life, hoping that he would die on Riker Island. I mean, shame on her for doing that. I mean, this is like karma coming home in a big way. Speaking of jail, I don't know if you saw this or not, but remember the Maryland man? He gets sent to El Salvador.
Yeah.
And now they keep saying, you got to bring him back. You got to bring him back. Guess what? He's being brought back. The Democrats got their way. They got the best of Trump. Oh, wait. No, they didn't. This guy, they're flying him back to America so that he can be charged in the justice system for human trafficking. So talk about getting what you asked for. Thoughts on that?
You want to be brought back? We want to bring them back. Let's bring them all back then. Isn't it indicative of what it is that the left always tries to do? They love stumping for the illegal. They love stumping for those who commit all these atrocious crimes and all these atrocities. When it comes to America and Americans, they will stump for these people all day long. But when it comes to actual justice, they don't want any part of that. When it comes to standing up for the American citizen, they don't want any part of that. But when it comes to this illegal who wants to come into America, exploit our laws, exploit our system, spit on our national sovereignty, do despicable things to human beings like traffic individuals. Oh no, we don't see that. We have a blind eye to all that sort of thing. It's really sad to see that this is what the left is comprised of. And I want the American people to understand this. These people are not for America. They're not for Americans. They're for everybody else except for America. They are American last. America last. That's what they are. They are individuals who do not care about the rule of law. They're individuals who do not care about actual justice. If it's not social justice, if it's not racial justice, they don't want any part of it. So we need to understand that and bring that to the light so that more people understand what it is that the left is trying to do to America and to our fellow people.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this or not. I just saw it myself this morning, but Charlemagne the God.
Oh, goodness gracious.
He had Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell on, the guy that was sleeping with a Chinese spy.
Yep.
And he just asked him straight to his face, like, why you been lying to us about not knowing that Biden had mental issues? Why are you lying to us about his cognitive decline? And Eric Swalwell said, I never saw it. I didn't know that. And then Charlemagne and his co-host, they start laughing and they're like, we're just two like talk show DJs and we saw it. How can a member of Congress not see it? Do you think that they just didn't want to see it, or do you think they're just lying through their teeth?
Lying through their teeth. Absolutely. We all saw it. The American people saw it. It's funny because I would talk to, my Democrat friends, more center left friends, and they'd be like, you know what, we're glad Joe Biden, we can't stand Trump. We can't stand the right, but Joe Biden, he's done. He's toast, right? They knew it. They saw it. They spoke to it. And it's only now that everyone wants to distance themselves because you can't hide it anymore. You have his own aides talking about what's been going on behind the scenes. We have, people on the left exposing, which I love to see, mind you. But where was this 4 years ago? Where was this virtue? Corinne Jean-Pierre, writing her little book, Independent, now considering herself to be independent. Where was this fervor? Where was this truth telling 4 years ago? And when it comes to Eric Swalwell, I mean, do we really believe this guy in the first place? Sitting there cozying up to a Chinese spy? Like, are we really going to believe his word in the first place? So when it comes to the left, when it comes to these individuals, and when it comes to this situation, this is the biggest, what I consider to be the biggest scandal in American history, point blank period, right? The cover up of someone's cognitive decline, his mental decline that is obvious on the world stage, that's obvious in these press conferences in which he would have this little card telling them exactly what to do, what to say. He was Owen forever against the teleprompter. I mean, this guy just couldn't put sentences together, and he was the leader of the free world. And the Democrats covered this up time and time and time again. I think that this shot the credibility of the Democrat Party for decades. And I think that people should really understand this, which is why obviously people like Karine Jean-Pierre are trying to distance themselves from the Democrats. But we have to really understand this is the Democrat Party. They're a party of liars. They are a party of con men and con women. They are a party of people who don't believe in justice. They are a party of anti-America and anti-American processes. So we have to keep this in mind when it comes to our future elections and understand that these people do not want the best for America, but they're willing to lie. They're willing to lie to America.
Yeah, they are. Let me ask you this. President Trump did very, very well with the Black community. Each time he ran, he did better. But this last time, I mean, he really broke records. And the Democrats were almost abusive towards the Black community. Like, hey, you got to vote for us because we demand it. Like, we're in charge of you guys. But I think a lot of people had their eyes opened. Why do you think that is? Do you think it was the common sense policies? Was it economic? Was it people realizing, wait a minute, you guys have been in charge for 50 years. Our cities are worse. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a combination of all. I think it's all come to a head. I went to the South Side of Chicago and I went to New York quite often, and I was interviewing different people down there. And I was interviewing this man that he had the pulse of the streets, if you will, the South Side of Chicago. And he was talking to me about how Black people are pissed. They can't stand the illegal immigration that's going on. They can't stand the fact that illegals are getting preferential treatment over American citizens, right? Same thing in New York. They couldn't stand the fact that these people who just jumped over the border, due to proximity or due to being flown in or whatever have you, they're jumping over the border and they're getting preferential treatment. They're getting the red carpet rolled out for them. Their cities are being just jam-packed with individuals, and they were talking about how different the cultures are clashing and things of this nature. They were pissed. Okay, the Black community all over the country were just pissed off. And then you look at what's happening economically with the fumbling of every single economic situation that you could think of when it comes to Biden and what he had going on in his administration. When it comes to law and order, the lack of law and order, Black people were pissed off about that too. It's just there's so many things that came to a head, and Black people are looking at it like, okay, wait a minute. The Democrat Party said that they're the party for the Black man, right? They're the party for the minority, and we're told that we have to be, if we're Black, then we gotta consider ourselves to be Democrat because Black equals Democrat. But what are you really doing for the American people, and what are you doing for us, right? Because we're a part of the American people. And they started seeing that and started recognizing the fact that the Black community, that the Democrat Party is not for the Black community. And ultimately, we're going to have to be for those who are going to be for us, the American citizen. So there's been a lot of people that have been waking up to the fact that the Democrat Party are, like I said earlier, they're a party of liars, a party of snakes. They only come to them every 2 to 4 years for their vote. They only use us for our vote. And that's the long and short bit of it. And as a result, they looked at the Republican Party, see what it is that we have to offer, seeing that we promote self-responsibility, self-accountability, things of that nature. And they're like, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's go for common sense. Let's go for people that know who a woman is and are going to keep these men out of women's spaces. Let's go for the common sense agenda of the right as opposed to the foolishness of the left. And since then, they've been making that shift. And I think that majority of them are going to stay here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Do you think there's any truth to Democrat leadership saying, wait a minute, the Black community, they're seeing through our lies. They're seeing the schooling, the housing, the assistance, and they're like, oh crap, we got to replace the Black vote. We got to get a bunch of illegal immigrants. You think there's any truth to that?
100%. I look at it, they always talk about the great replacement theory. I think it's true in regards to Americans in general, right? They always try to make it seem like it's all about white people. No, it's actually about Americans. The Democrat Party has nothing tangible to offer, right? The policies are trash. They always pick the wrong side of cultural issues because they're all given into identity politics, which demands, and Marxism, which demands that you identify with the cultural issues of identity politics, and you stick to identity politics, and you adhere to that over the truth. Right, in which we, the American people, we're all looking at it like, okay, well, we don't adhere to that because that's foolishness. That goes against reality. That goes against biology. That goes against everything we know to be right. So if we're not going to play ball anymore as the Black community, you're going to need a demographic of individuals who are going to be subservient to your will and who are going to vote accordingly. Especially since Black people are leaving the Democrat Party in droves. So I have high hopes for the Black community in leaving the Democrat Party, but I am worried about the illegal being the replacement. I think it was actually Candace Owens in, I think it was 2019 or 18 or somewhere around there. And she said it, illegal is the new Black. Right. And I think that perfectly encompasses exactly what's going on within the Democrat Party. They are losing power. They're bleeding support. So they have to go for another demographic of people that they can utilize to bolster their numbers. And the illegal is exactly that.
Yeah. God, that's it's really sad for me, because there's something called the tipping point, right? Like, have you ever been to one of those water parks, those big buckets fill up, and eventually the weight is so much that it spills all over the children or me, the white guy under there screaming too loud. But I think for a long time, there's been this idea that, Republicans, they don't need the Black community, and Democrats are like, we can never win if we lose them, right? So they kind of just dangled this carrot for a long time. And now, Donald Trump has really taken this idea of we're the big tent party with a small door, and he's opened the door and said, come in, everybody come in. So I think Republicans need to understand there's going to be a lot of Democrats that are coming into the party. We need to be accepting. We need to, be helpful. I, for one, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really neat to see where this next election cycle goes. Who's going to replace? I mean, Steve Bannon says Trump's going to run for a third term. Trump says, I don't think so. It'll be really interesting. Who do you think it might be? Are we going to see J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio? What are your thoughts on that?
I think J.D. Vance has really positioned himself as the future leader of the party. I think he has done such a phenomenal job in the support of Trump, in the support of the MAGA, and for our agendas on the right side of history. He has a very common sense approach to a lot of these things. And I'm big on culture. I'm a big guy on cultural issues. And when I look at people like J.D. Vance, I see the fact that he looks at these cultural issues. He's like, okay, look, we're common sense. We're getting back to common sense. I don't care what you say. I don't care how much you scream and whine and try to destroy our country. We're going back to common sense. We're going back to what is necessary for America, the flourishing of our country. We're getting back to justice, the idea of going after criminals, which is something I didn't think could be controversial. But here in this day and age, we have people who actually don't want us to impose justice. Was it with liberty and justice for all? I mean, I thought that was the essence of America, but we're getting back to these things. So I think that J.D. Vance, I mean, he's a great speaker, eloquent speaker. He's very good. He's a very thoughtful speaker in so much that he's able to clearly articulate his words and his thoughts to the American people, which, as much as I love Trump, he can be kind of, clumsy at times with his words, but J.D. Vance is very clear and concise with his words and how he conveys it to the American people. I think he's perfect for what we need going on here on through 2028. And I would definitely throw my support around him and what he's, especially seeing his leadership as a vice president.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. Boy, can you imagine like him and Byron Donalds or him and Marco Rubio or like there's just the Republican Party has a deep bench. Meanwhile, I'm like, who are the Democrats going to run? Are they going to run Jasmine Crockett or AOC or Bernie again? Like, I don't know. I'm worried for them. I'm happy that they're losing, But I'm also worried, like, what's going to happen to this party?
Yeah, you know what? I pray for a Jasmine Crockett AOC ticket. I pray for that. I mean, the two most off-putting, someone who's off-putting, Jasmine Crockett, with one of the most unintelligent individuals that I've ever seen rise to power, which is AOC. I would love to see the pairing of these two individuals. And you look at the Democrat Party. I mean, quite honestly, you look at the Democrat Party. They have nobody. There is nobody. And they're the party of radicalism at this point in time. They're the party of socialists. They're the party of Marxists. They're the party of big government. There's no one that is going to resonate with the American people at this point that's on the Democrat side. There's nobody that's common sense enough that would appeal to the normal everyday American. You know, you don't Newsom. We gonna run Newsom? No, no one's gonna resonate with that man because they see what's happened to California, right? There's no one to run, and I think the Democrats have really painted themselves in this corner themselves due to their own radicalism. And I just hope that they keep going with this. As long as they keep as long as the left and the Democrat Party say a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. We want women and men in women's spaces. We are going to demonize every white person based on the color of their skin. We're going to allow every illegal into the United States of America that wants to come in. We should have open borders, and on top of open borders, we should have universal Medicare. With Medicare for all, we should have universal basic income. As long as they keep stating these things, we're good on the right side of history.
Yeah. Yep. Well, President Trump started off his run by saying the Republican Party has become the party of common sense. And I believe that has carried us forward. Turning Point USA, you guys are doing a great job educating, getting the young Americans excited and thinking about patriotism, serving in the military, making America great, thinking about America first versus America last. You guys are just doing some really incredible things. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to follow you online, where can I point them?
You can find me on Instagram, Stephen Davis 1776, and of course, I guess now we tell everybody, Stephen with a PH. Okay, Stephen Davis 1776 on Instagram, Stephen D 1776 on X.
Okay, I will put those direct links down below. Thank you for taking time to come on my show today. We'll have you on again. Hopefully I'll meet you in Tampa if I can get down there for the Turning Point event. That would be really amazing. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. And keep on fighting the good fight.
I will. Thank you.